Dynamic 4K gaming and 4K entertainment? A brand new advertising campaign for the PS4 Pro. Also, Sony is using the world's largest asterisks. Dynamic 4K. I don't believe they're using that to try to mislead consumers. I think the statement covers their butts. All through 2016, Sony was promising 4K and calling the Neo a 4K gaming console. Turns out, only a handful of games, 6 or so prominent games are at native 4K, and the rest are all simple arcade games and sports games. Which is the equivalent of Microsoft bragging that they're bringing 4K Minecraft to the Scorpio. This word dynamic has triggered a lot of gamers. Remember in 2014, they got sued for claiming that Killzone Shadowfall was rendering at a native 1080p when they were actually using dynamic resolution scaling. And it's important to understand what dynamic is intended to mean before you bash Sony. Dynamic doesn't mean sparkling, exciting, and eye-popping. Dynamic means ranging and variable. Well, let's go to Webster's dictionary. Marked by unusually continuous and productive activity or change requiring periodic refreshment. Now, the 4K entertainment, that's a funny one because if customers don't look at the asterisks or they don't rotate the box around, they're going to think that the PS4 Pro has a 4K Blu-ray player in it. So let's talk about price. Because a lot of people tried to mock build a PC to predict what the Xbox Scorpio will cost, and Gamespot recently built a Scorpio-like PC, but they forgot the ridiculous parameters they set for themselves a year ago when they did the same thing for the PS4 Pro. Gamespot priced out the PS4 Pro-like PC at $631. They didn't add the $100 Windows 10 into the build because who wants to show a baseline cost of a Sony console at $750? GameSpot's Scorpio PC priced out at $877, but they lumped in Windows 10 because, you know, Microsoft has to pay for their own OS. And I'm going to omit the $100 Windows price from this build and keep it at $777, compared to the PS4 Pro PC build at $630. The PS4 Pro debuted at $400 and the cost differential for the PC counterpart is 36.6%. So if we apply that differential to the $777 Scorpio-like PC build, that puts the Scorpio retail price at $492. For GameSpot's PS4 Pro build, they used a Radeon RX 480 5.8 T-flop GPU, instead of the more appropriate 470, which was 4.9 T-flops. Now keep in mind, at that time they knew the PS4 Pro was a 4.2 teraflop console, but they decided to match the GDDR5 RAM of the bigger card to match the 8 GB of RAM. Quote, "Since Sony is advertising the PS4 Pro as a 4K capable gaming console, we thought we'd err on the side of a little more power to avoid creating a bottleneck that the PS4 Pro isn't likely to encounter." A perfect example of giving the benefit of the doubt to Sony. GameSpot decided to build the Scorpio PC with 8 GB of VRAM, saying, "Only 8 of the 12 gigs of VRAM is being used for gaming, so we'll just go with the RX 580 GPU. Interesting, since they didn't mention anything about the Pro having to run anything besides the games. Instead, they made up all kinds of excuses for low-level APIs, so keep in mind, already out of the gate, GameSpot has crippled the Scorpio build. Last year, the objective of the Pro-like PC build was to see if Sony could achieve 4K resolution on console. A year later, they go into the Scorpio-like PC build trying to disprove 4K Ultra at 60 FPS, which seems asinine for a home console only expected to cost gamers $100 more than the PS4 Pro. For the PS4 Pro PC build, GameSpot tested games like Elder Scrolls Online. Their PC build was able to hit native 4K as advertised even on the highest settings. They were able to get Rise of the Tomb Raider running at 4K using medium settings and disabling anti-aliasing at 30 frames per second. Gamespot was very pleased with the Pro-like build, achieving 4K 30 FPS, but continued to rebuke the Scorpio-like build for not getting 60 FPS. They tested Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which was advertised to run at
4K resolution with many graphical improvements.
Digital Foundry discovered that the game actually ran worse on the PS4 Pro. It did reach 4K most of the time at 30 FPS, but the Pro-like build hit 4K at a staggering 1.2 FPS. This illustrates how inane these PC comparisons are. Gamespot came to the conclusion that more demanding games will be upscaled to 4K, which is, to be fair, what Sony advertised in 2016. 4K gaming through smoke and mirrors. Now, you can argue that you can't tell the difference between that and native 4K, but at the same time, you can say it still looks like 1080p. The Scorpio-like build test started off with Forza Horizon 3. Funny that they didn't choose Forza Apex, which is free on PC, or $20 for full access. Instead, they started by trying to disprove the capability of the Scorpio by testing it on an 80 square mile open world racer. Now, I don't mean to make excuses, but my GTX 1070 PC is barely hitting 48 to 55 FPS on Ultra in 1080p. It seems far-fetched to expect Forza Horizon to run at 4K 60 on Ultra on the Scorpio, but they were able to hit native 4K at 30 FPS. GameSpot said this: "There's also a chance that the developer has access to low-level APIs for the game engine." Yeah, I mean, of course they do. That's the whole point of the design of the Scorpio. Dealer Gaming explains it better than me. "Hey fellas, what's happening? This is Dealer Gaming. Scorpio, on the other hand, has the DX12 command processor in the GPU and optimization." That doesn't sound like him, but he said it's important to note that Scorpio's hardware is designed around the software and the game engines. Still, I think most gamers fully expect Forza Horizon 3 to run at 4K 30 on the Scorpio. And hopefully, there's an option for 1080p 60. The next test was Gears of War 4, which ran at 4K 30 on high settings. At Ultra, it averaged 27 FPS, but the base Xbox One ran Gears 4 at 1080p 30 with a 1080p 60 multiplayer mode. When the coalition team behind Gears of War 4 promised 4K on Scorpio, they never promised 60 FPS. I'm not sure that GameSpot meant this reach for the moon expectation to be an insult to the PS4, but hey, it's there. What surprised me though was Fallout 4 running on the Scorpio-like PC. Fallout 4 ran at 4K Ultra at 45 FPS, dipping down to 39. And I should note that it does not have any PS4 Pro support for 4K or 1800p checkerboard rendering, but it does offer a 1440p resolution mode. GameSpot concluded that the Scorpio will offer 4K gaming, but they are doubtful that it will offer 4K 60 FPS. I agree with them. And logical and sensible gamers don't expect a $500 console to run 4K 60 Ultra on every single game. Sure, Sony said dynamic in their ad, but maybe they have the right idea. I think we should be asking for dynamic resolution on consoles to keep things targeting 60 FPS. Well, as long as your console can handle the draw calls of 60 FPS. This is Colt Eastwood. Thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please support me by subscribing to the channel. Hit that like button if you really like the video. And if you want to support me on Patreon, please do so by clicking the link below. Maybe you could put some money in there and I can afford to buy a PS4 and see what that thing does. Alright gamers, have a good one. I'll see you soon.